Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the tavern for another wonderful evening of storytelling and camaraderie. I apologize for it taking me a bit. The magic box was fighting me. William, we do not have a physical door for the tavern as of yet. So as of right now, the only ways to get in is, of course, through these portals here. But in the next few years, we would definitely like to have physical location opened up. Chopsticks, hello, welcome in. Did we get raided? No, we did not. Okay. Matty, 35 streams to go. First time in, hello everyone, this is Hannah from Facebook, finally made it to a Twitch stream. Welcome in, Hannah, it's good to see you. I'm so very glad that you could join us. Thank you for popping in. I hope you'll enjoy yourself. We are in a legendary moment. So we have been reading this series for over a year now. And it is the Magician series by Raymond E. Feist, and we are on the final chapter. This may very well be the last time for a while that we are in the realms of Midkemia in Feist's world, and that is exciting and sad. Chris, hello my friend, welcome in, so very glad that you could join us. I saw that you followed some time ago, or a couple of days ago. Where did you find the tavern from? Obviously, Hannah is coming in from over on the Facebook portal. Where did you find us from, Chris? And let's see who else we got in. We have Bethany, we have Maddie, we have Frost, we have... I saw Molly in earlier, I saw Herring, I saw Sotok, I saw the Bear, I saw the Scorch Queen, Destiny is in with us, we saw Milu. Have I missed anyone? Doesn't seem like it. Seems like I captured all the folk who are currently in. Wonderful. Kazi, hello! Was sorry there were technical issues on Thursday last week, and then I forgot and missed Sunday's story. That's alright. We weren't even sure Sunday was going to happen with how bad everything was on Thursday. And essentially there was a Windows update on the Magic Box, and it corrupted one of the drives, but the drive that it corrupted was a little SD card. So I didn't realize that, because I have systems in place to tell me when we have drives going bad, because we've had that happen before. But the little SD card doesn't get read by those drives because it's not a permanent drive. So every time I was plugging in the SD card, it was causing the entire box to freak out. And then eventually what happened was it completely erased like 80% of the function drivers on the Magic Box. Nothing would work. The cameras would not work. The Wi-Fi was not working. Nothing was working. It was in it. So the whole thing, and I had to spend the whole redoing magic to fix the Magic Box. So it was a hell of a thing. I was watching Quincy on Twitch. I think he said, "Oh, well, wonderful. Well, welcome in, my friend." Yes. We did raid Quincy. So Quincy is a funny thing because I didn't quite know who he was. And a bunch of folks kept tagging him in my comments over on various platforms saying that he and I should work together. And then he popped up on the front page of Twitch for me one day. The algorithm gods doing their thing. And so I just went in and said hello, and then we've been talking a little bit back and forth. I don't know if anything will actually happen there, but maybe. I don't really do a lot of collaborations, but another tavern keeper would be right there on the ball for it. Let's see. By the way, I loved the video of your family's lore today. That's an amazing heritage. I'm very glad, Hannah. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I try to intersperse family stories in with broader world stories, because a lot of people follow the tavern because my grandfather's family has a very rich history of storytelling and story keeping. We have a lot of folklore that's really unique to us, but for some reason it also makes people upset. So I try to intersperse it sparingly through and through. Destiny Love, hello, good to see you. Also, the plague had me so scrambled. I posted a funny video in Salty Spittoon. I'll go give it a look, Matty. Nina, you said my first time here in Spokane. Well, welcome in from Spokane. I hope that the weather is treating you well. I've only been to Spokane. I assume that you're talking about Washington. I've only been there twice, and it was very rainy both times. It reminded me of back home, and I greatly enjoyed it. Because where I live now, I live in California. I live in the south of California, and it is always hot down here. Kirk, hello, you said. Tranonama. It's been so long since I've spoken. Tranonama. Hello, welcome in, my friend. Good evening to you as well. May I have your permission to stitch your likeness into a bit of tapestry? Certainly. Silver Hands, welcome. Silver Hands, is that a reference to... What am I thinking? What am I thinking of? Is that a reference to Cyberpunk? Johnny Silverhands, or does it come from something else? Any which way, welcome in, my friend. So very glad you could join us. I thought I would come and check out another tavern. Well, I hope you'll find yourself comfortable here. As an introduction for the new folk, I am Castle, this is my tavern, and here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore, and every now and again I read you all a story. This is a tavern at the end of the world where all stories eventually come to rest, and you found your way here because you sought a story. We'll be reading the final chapter of A Darkness at Sethanon, the 4th book in the Magician series, and it's going to be our last night in Midkemia for a while. Mike, hello, good to see you. Sinomi, hello. Ashley, hello, good to see you. Well, glad that the issue got worked out. Yes, I'm still fighting with it a little bit, trying to get everything to work, because it erased so much that I basically had to rebuild the software from the inside out. I had to go in and do a bunch of things I haven't done in a while, so it took me forever to fix it. But it is very good. Cyberpunk, yes, thank you, Kirk. Some more chairs filled at the rail tonight, yes. We've got quite a few folk in this evening. I'm glad to see it. I always love when we've got a full house. Regulars and new folk and old folk all the way through. Also, Castle, I'm 32 years young tomorrow. 32 years young. 32 whole revolutions and survivals. Can't stay tonight, my friend. Good night, Mike. I'm glad that you dropped in to say hello. It's always wonderful to see you. I hope that you rest well, and that you rise tomorrow ready to conquer the day, my friend. And we will see you, hopefully on Thursday. Yeah, for Bear, you're already 32, Matty, because he's in the future. Does the rest of the country pronounce Spokane with an A, a long A? All Washingtonians, the only people who pronounce it with a short A. Is it Spokane? Do Washingtonians say Spokane? I've always said Spokane, so I have no idea. Interesting. I say Spokane. I've always said Spokane, and no one's ever corrected me. There are benefits to being a large dwarven man. Nobody corrects you when you're wrong. And there's something I want to mention as well, but Destiny, Erin, and Nilu know, unless Una or you overheard me on stream. I had you up, but it was you were muted, so I didn't hear anything. And Una has been working on other things today, so she hasn't been on her magic box at all. Future Bear, yes, he's a future bear. And he looks all futuristic when you see him, too. Is the music? Yeah, the music's fine. Alright, we're not too loud. Spokane, alright, well. I suppose it is Spokane. Ads in 5. Alright, let's go ahead and run our ads over on the Twitch portal so that we can get an hour without them. Jazz, hello, love, good to see you, welcome in. Alright, for the folk over on Twitch, we have to run 3 minutes of ads. The reasons why we do this, it's going to give us a whole hour without them, and then new folk coming in won't get hit with pre-rolls. It is annoying, and I wish we didn't have to do it, but it is a part of the Twitch ecosystem, sadly. I appreciate any of you who are willing to sit through it, and we'll be back presently, and when we do, we will start reading. I say Spokane. Yeah, I've always said Spokane, and no one's ever corrected me. Thank you, Hannah, I appreciate you. Gunnar, hello, hello! I am doing quite well. Fully recovered now. It's pronounced Spokane, but spelled Spokane. Yeah, I tend to pronounce things as phonetically as I know they are being said. Saw Real a few days ago, now I find myself at the Black Dragon for the first time. Well, welcome in, my friend. We're glad to have you, Paul. Grab a seat and settle in. We are reading I'm reading you all a story tonight, and we are on the final chapter. I'll give everyone who's new a bit of a recap for the story. It's a long chapter, it's almost 30 pages, but it should be pretty good. Huh, I learned something new today. I've always said Spokane too. It's like every state has a... I'm not even going to try. Presque Isle and pronounces it differently. And most of them are wrong. Yeah, I don't, they see, because to me, like, phonetically, it should be Spokane, but it seems like most folks say it's Spokane. So, there are some like very egregious American pronunciations of places. It's almost like they were pronounced that way out of spite. Okay, friends, we're gonna run ads real quick. We'll be right back. Give me just a moment. I knew someone who referred to Cody, Wyoming as Coyote. Interesting. Very interesting. La breha shanaduit. Dracer. What Dracer? What does the Breha Shona is? Oh, happy birthday. It's been so long since I've spoken well out loud. Oh, Frisian. Okay. Presqu'île is correct. Era, Pennsylvania. Say also. Okay. That makes sense. Breha Hanadwit is how I remember it being pronounced, but my pronunciation I've been told quite often, because my grandfather's family have a non-standard way of speaking Gaeilge, and what I grew up around is not at all standard for most of Ireland. So don't take my pronunciation as being canon in any way. Presqu'île is correct. Era PA say Presca Isle, and so on. Interesting. Kayla, hello. I just saw you dropped in. You said hugs, chat. I smell like strawberry milk. I am a tad loopy. I had surgery. Well, I'm glad you're all right. Since you're here, it seems like you made it through okay. And a cyst out of one of my ooh, that is rough. But I'm glad you're all right. I'm glad that you got it removed, and I hope you'll be better for it. Client though, and well, she was obsessed with Coyote Ugly movie. I think that is why she called it Coyote. That's funny. That is funny. My mother loved that movie. My mother was a big fan of that movie. It was pretty big in the late 90s, early 2000s, whenever it came out. Very popular. My dialect is Ulster. Ulster tends to be the more common dialect. Most folk who speak Gaeilge, they speak Ulster. The second most common would be Munster, which is what most people in Ireland speak, because Munster is sort of like the lower third of the south is what most of them speak, and then you have a very select few people who will speak in the like the Ossory. Ossory's dialect is very strange. It's almost Scottish in the way that it is spoken, but it's not quite Scottish Gaelic, but there's a fairly significant difference between the three remaining forms of Irish Gaelic. But the two most common are, of course, Munster and Ulster, with the one that gets taught the most being Ulster because of the dominance of Northern Ireland in influence to the rest of the island, because it was the center point for England and their dominance over Ireland overall. Tangents are fun, isn't that part of the tavern's appeal? Yes, they are. A major part. This is where I must take my leave. Unfortunately, I have to get up early to go see Matt in the hospital. Wait, how? Hang on. You can't just. What happened to Matt? What happened to Mateus? Give me a quick rundown before you leave. Did I know that there was something going on? I remember he was ill ages ago. What is he? Is this a different hospital visit? Same one? What happened? Nobody knows. Hello, welcome in. Alright friends, it looks like ads have finished over on Twitch. They think that his mesh implant is potentially being rejected by his body as well. That is terrible. Make sure you give him as many possible tavern kisses as you can, and make sure you send him our love. And yes, go off to bed. Do as you need to. Back from the void. Welcome back to all of our Twitch friends. Me and mine have been fighting a devilish plague ourselves. Seems to be bouncing around the house like a pixie. They do tend to do that. The bugs, once they get going. Hope I'm not late. You're not late, driver. We just are now getting into the reading section of Storytime. Kessel, I can't promise to stay long tonight. Wanted to make sure that you and the tavern family knew I was okay. How are you feeling? Is everything all right? You don't have to, if it's anything personal, you don't have to tell me. But everything's all right, I presume. You got work and all those things. How are you feeling? How are you doing? It was 220, so he's getting better. Just got to get it down. It was 160. Well, improving is good. Still can't shake the store Thursday from the big. I caught 3. Oh, the bug you got Thursday that you caught 3 weeks ago. Everything else is fine, but my throat. And that's the worst, right? Especially when you do like what we do, where your job is talking. Music needs to be turned down for the reading. I'm not getting any blips on the music as of right now, so it should be pretty good. I did turn it down, though. Dalen Hibbard, hello and welcome into the tavern, my friend. Grab a seat, settle in. We're just getting ready to start. I'm going to give a little bit of a backstory, a recap on where we are up to this point for all of the new folk, and then we are going to get directly into story time. Yeah, it was all just to make sure I was not going to get worse overnight due to the blood thinners I'm on. Okay, good. Glad that you're doing all right. They were concerned I might have brain bleed due to a smack on the noggin I had in the morning. It's a lot of important stuff up there for us. No noggin smacking if you can avoid it. I just know your smooches, though, will do the trick. Sending my love. All right, Ashley, love. Go off to bed, and let us know how things are with Mateus and the rest of the family in the morning. Oh, good lord. No, shut up. Shut up. Google, stop. Stop. Google, stop. I don't need your help. Thank you. Wasn't less than 30 seconds ago. All right. Well, I did crank it down a little bit just in case it does pick back up again. So, if it's too big, let me see. Free Dragon, hello and welcome in. You've marked this on your map. You should be able to find your way back the next time you seek a story. Tyson, I'm glad you made it home. All right, we have almost 30 pages of this story left, and then we are done in Minkemia. So, real quick, as a Uh, Recap for all of the folks who haven't been here. This book is called Darkness at Sethanon. A Darkness at Sethanon is the fourth book in the Magician Rift War saga, and it follows essentially three protagonists. You have Arutha, who is the son of the Duke Boric, and now the Prince of the Kingdom of the Isles. Kingdom of the Isles is the main kingdom that we deal with in these four books. The story is based around two worlds that sort of are in conflict slash intermeshed with each other. The primary world is called Midkemia. The secondary world is sort of a Japanese, Mesopotamian, Egyptian-inspired world called Kelewon. That's the setup for everything that we do. Free dragon, I'll take a free dragon. Well, we got one over on the TikTok portal. Yeah, I flipped the camera because I thought that this one was the one that was backwards, but apparently it's the other one that's backwards. So who knows? Oh, you know what? It's backwards because the camera naturally reads backwards. I forgot about that. Oh boy, sounds good. This is a hell of a series. If you've never read, the first book is very slow. It's a slow burn. But if you've never read this series, it is strongly recommended to go and do it. So the first two books surround the two of the protagonists, Pug and Tomas. Pug is a young boy who becomes a magician's apprentice, then gets kidnapped to this other world, and he becomes a master magician in both worlds. That's his essential story arc. The second boy is a boy called Tomas. He is given a Dragon Lord's armor by a dragon, and then he inherits the soul of the Dragon Lord, and he then becomes half human, half Dragon Lord. The Dragon Lords are called the Valheru. That's really all you need to know about Tomas. Well, and then he goes on to marry the Queen of the Elves and have a child with her. 200 pages to get going. I don't think I'll ever let that go. Yeah, it is like, it's like 250 pages before the story really picks up. And again, it's not boring, it's not bad, it's a very slow burn. There's not a whole lot that goes on in the first 250 pages of the book, but it is very good. It is still a very good story. The third book in the series is called Silverthorn, and that is where Arutha kind of comes in as being one of the main characters. His lovely bride-to-be is nearly assassinated with a poison that the Dark Elves, called the Moredel, end up, it is very specific to them. They have to go and they have to find the cure. That's what the whole book is about. In the process of going to do that, our big bad is revealed, and he is a figure called Mermandamus. Now, we learned at the end of this book that Mermandamus is the servant of the Valheru, the Dragon Lords, who we learn in this book were expelled from Midkemia by the old gods and locked out. And now, Mermandamus is trying to bring them back into Midkemia. So that is what is going on at the end of this story. When we last left off, Arutha, Tomas, Pug, and Macross, who is this immortal, all-knowing magician, are in battle with one of the Valheru and with Mermandamus. And that is where we are. The camera is dyslexic. It's going to make it really hard for any actual dyslexic folk in here to read, as if it wasn't already difficult enough. As if you hadn't already been nerfed by the universe, I'm also causing you problems with the camera. Kirk, thank you kindly for the 200 stars, my friends. Tips to the tavern keepers, always appreciated. Astrological events happening over the tavern. Thank you, Kirk, I appreciate you. Regrettably, work is calling. I'll settle accounts, though. Good night. Joy to be with you all. Kirk, I'm so glad you joined us. You've been a joy. I'm glad you're becoming a regular, my friend. Have a good day at work, and we will see you when you join us next, which hopefully will be on Thursday. Can we keep them warm enough to hatch outside the hatching grounds? What are we doing? We're talking about eggs? What are we talking about? What do you guys... How big is the hearth? Oh, you guys talking about hatching dragon eggs in... Okay, alright. You guys are nerds. Julie, thank you for the follow over on TikTok. Welcome to the tavern. Grab yourself a seat. You've marked us on your map. You should be able to find your way back the next time that you seek a story. That's the problem with being a dyslexia devil worshiper. I sold my soul to Santa. It is a... Could be worse. You probably got, some pretty good presents that year. Alright, kids. Sit down, settle in. We are in the final chapter of A Darkness at Sethanon. Aftermath, chapter 20. Again the room trembled and shook. Arutha listened, clutching his bleeding side. It sounded a distant battle, with titanic forces unleashed. He went to where Pug and Macross stood, and the two black-robed magicians next to them. He sighed as he nodded to them. I'm Prince Arutha, he said. Ochopeppa and Elgahar, these are magicians from Kelawon. Introduce themselves, and Elgahar says, These two are undertaking to hold some power at bay. We must aid them. The two black robes placed their hands upon Macross's and Pug's shoulders and closed their eyes. Arutha found he was alone again. He looked toward the grotesque husk of Myrmandamus's, slumped in the corner. Crossing to where it lay, Arutha reached down and pulled his sword from the serpent man. Arutha studied the slime-covered form of the serpent priest and laughed bitterly. The reincarnated leader of the Moridel nations was a Pantathian. It had all been a ruse, from the centuries-old prophecy to the marshalling of the Moridel and their allies, to the assault upon Armangar and Sethanon. The Pantathians are serpent people, made by one of the Valheru, who they called the Emerald Serpent Queen. The Pantathians had simply been using the Moridel at the command of the Dragon Lords, hoarding the magic of spent lives to reach the Lifestone and use it. In all of it, the Moridel had been used more cruelly than anyone else. It was an irony of heroic proportion. Arutha was astonished by the realization, though he was too tired to do more than weakly scan the room, as if looking for someone with whom to share the revelation. Suddenly, a rent appeared in the wall with a small door, and gold and gems and other treasures were spilled upon the floor. In his fatigue, Arutha hardly wondered how this had come to be, for he had heard no sound of masonry collapsing. Arutha let his sword point drop and turned to walk back to the magicians, seeing no exit from the vault. He sat upon the dais and watched the four motionless spellcasters as they stood with hands joined. He examined his wound and saw the blood flowing had lessened. It was painful, but not serious. He leaned back, getting as comfortable as possible, but he could do nothing but wait. Joker, hello, my friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see you, brother. Brickwork and masonry was smashed to dust as Riath's tail swept through the wall. With a shriek of pain and rage, the dragon worked her magic upon the Dreadlord, while Fang and Talon inflicted injury, but the Dreadlord struggled mightily and the dragon paid a heavy toll in return. Damas lashed out, keeping his body between the Lifestone and Drakenkorin, the screaming, snarling Valheru. Drakenkorin is the Dragon Lord who made the Lifestone. The Lifestone is the sort of, not MacGuffin, but the central focus of this story. It was built to kill the old gods, or the new gods at the time, but they're the old gods now, to kill the new gods by draining all of the life out of Midkemia and using it as like a giant laser beam of sorts, a Death Star, to kill them. Oh, not much, Joker, you know how it goes, just more stories in the tavern after all. Tomas had not possessed the savage fury of his opponent since the days of madness had been upon him during the Rift War. But he was a practiced warrior and he kept his wits about him. Drakencorin shouted, "You cannot deny us again, Ashen Shagor! We are the lords of this world, we must return!" Thomas parried, turning the blade away, and then slashed out, and was rewarded with a shower of sparks as his blade hit Drakencorin's armor, rending his tabard. "You're a decayed artifact of a former age. You are a thing that hasn't the wits to know you're dead. You'd destroy all to win a lifeless planet." Drakencorin swung a looping blow towards the head, but Tomas ducked and thrust, and his sword point took the Valheru in the stomach. Drakencorin staggered back, and Tomas was upon him like a cat upon a rat. Blow after blow rained down upon the Lord of Tigers, and Tomas held the upper hand. "We shall not be turned away!" screamed Drakencorin, and he redoubled his fury, halting Tomas, then driving him back, and in an instant there was a shimmering, and where Drakencorin had been, Alma Ladoka stood now, but her attack was no less fierce. Oh my God, here we are back again. "You underestimate us, father, husband," which is just a wild line. I lost my mind over this the first time. "Bears, hello from Florida. Welcome in, my friend. You are the third bear to join the community. Welcome. So very glad that you could join us. Grab a seat and settle in. I am Castle. This is my tavern, and here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore. And tonight I'm reading you all a story. So grab your seat and settle in. We're so very glad that you marked this on your map." So yeah, the Valheru were a very limited group of people, so in this book, the Valheru are basically like old school aristocracies, right? There's a lot of interbreeding that went on, but the fact that she calls him father husband is is wild. So talk back to haunt us all. Wonderful, wonderful. Bear, you are the first bear to join us, that is true. That's why you're Old King Bear. Ohio, USA here as well. Captain Winky and the Litter, welcome in. So very glad you could join us. All right, where was I? "We are all Valheru. You are but one." Then the face and body changed as one and another Valheru opposed Tomas. Quickly they shifted until a blur of faces appeared before Tomas. Then Drakencorin was back. "You see, I am a multitude. I am a legion. We are power." "You are death and evil, but you are also the father of lies," answered Tomas with contempt. And he struck out, and Drakencorin barely parried. "You had the power of the race. I would have been taken in a mere instant. You may shift your form, but I know you are a single agent, and a small part of a whole. Slipped here to use the life stone to open the portal, so the dragon host may enter." Drakencorin's only answer was a renewed attack. Tomas took the black blade upon his golden one, knocking it aside. At the other side of the hall, the struggle between the dragon and the Dread Lord was nearing a finish, for the sound of battle were faint and occasional. Then from behind came a silence and a terrible presence. Tomas felt the Dread Lord approach, and knew Riath had fallen to it. As Ashen Shagor had faced the Dread Lord before, and if unencumbered, would not have feared it. But to face it now would be to free Drakencorin to act, and to ignore it would give it the chance to incapacitate him. Oh, no. The other bear. The other bear. Bears, you are the third bear, so you're a mother bear then. Old King Bear is over on the Twitch portal. We have 5 portals open into the tavern tonight. So Twitch, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and Kick for wherever your viewing pleasure is most convenient. Old King Bear is the oldest of the bears in the tavern. So I apologize for the misunderstanding. I wasn't calling you Old King Bear. Old King Bear is the other bear. You have an amazing storytelling voice. Well, thank you kindly. I'm glad you enjoy it. I appreciate the compliment. That's why you are bear instead of we bear, yes. And I guess technically you are bears and he is bear. Singular. Singular versus plural, I suppose. Alright, where was I? Tomas knocked aside Drakenkorin's next strike and leapt forward unexpectedly, chancing a blow. The black blade snapped forward, but only glanced against the chainmail under the white tabard. Tomas's teeth clenched in pain as the ebon blade severed the golden links, cutting his side. But he gripped Drakenkorin's arm and wrenched, twisting. He reversed their positions, pushing the dragon, the Lord of Tigers, directly into the Dreadlord's path. The Dreadlord attempted to halt, but the dragon had exalted a toll before succumbing. The Dreadlord was injured and dazed, and his blow struck Drakenkorin from behind, stunning him. Drakenkorin screamed in agony, for he had not erected any protection against the life-draining touch of the Dreadlord. Tomas thrust and tore a gaping wound in the stomach of the black and orange-clad Velheru, weakening him more. Drakenkorin stumbled and was again forced to brush against the near-mindless Dreadlord, who shoved him aside. That inadvertent strike propelled Drakenkorin toward the life stone. "No!" shouted Tomas, leaping forward, and the Dreadlord lashed out, gripping Tomas for an instant. The plane flooded him into Tomas's being, and he struck out with his sword, causing a hissing shower of sparks when it hit the night-dark creature. It echoed a windy cry and let go. Tomas quickly lashed out at the heart of the unliving creature, a near-mortal wound which caused it to stagger back. Tomas spun toward Drakenkorin and attempted to reach his goal. Drakenkorin stumbled forward and fell across the life stone, as if to embrace it. He laughed, even as he felt his energies begin to dissipate, for he still had time to work his arts and open the gate, allowing the rest of his collective consciousness to return to the world of their creation. He would be whole again. Then, with a mighty bound, Tomas leaped above him, sword held in both hands, point downward, and with all his remaining energies, he drove the blade with one terrible blow, and there was an ear-shattering shriek as Drakenkorin arched backwards, like a bow being drawn. The golden sword passed through him and into the life stone. Then the wind came. From somewhere a compelling current of air appeared, blowing from all directions into the life stone. The mortally stricken Dreadlord trembled at the breeze's touch, then quivered. It suddenly became a thing of smoke and insubstance, and it was carried along with the wind. It was sucked into the stone. The form of the Lord of Tigers shivered, then shook violently, as a golden glow spread from Tomas's magic blade to engulf Drakenkorin. The golden nimbus began to pulse, and Drakenkorin became insubstantial, and like the Dreadlord vanished into the stone. Pug staggered as if from a blow, and the rift was torn open, but not from the other side. It was as if a giant hand reached out and moved his magic blocks aside, then reached into the rift and pulled something through. Pug felt Macrox's mind and recognized that somehow Hochopeppa and Elgahar were there as well. Then the rift exploded towards them, and they were cast back into normal awareness. Jared can't stay castle, spending time with the parents, just popping in to say hello. That's quite alright, my friend. Always lovely to see you. Go enjoy your time with your family. It's wonderful that you dropped in. I do appreciate it. I love all the creatures. Well, everyone, it's official. I'm a level 2 Subaru technician. Hell yes, brother. Congratulations, Tyson. We'll raise a glass to that, to Tyson's successful certification. Well done, my son. This fight was hard to follow. It was quite back and forth. There was a lot of back and forth in it. Essentially, how it went was Tomas fought Draken Corin. Draken Corin, while Riath fought the Dreadlord. The Dreadlord killed Riath, appeared behind Tomas, and then Tomas pushed Draken Corin into the Dreadlord. The Dreadlord then tossed him aside, and in doing so, tossed him onto the Life Stone. And then Tomas leapt onto him, killed him, and it seems like broke the Life Stone, and I don't know what that's going to cause, but we're about to find out right now. Well, you and I are both certified lunatics, Bear. That's fair enough. The room shifted about Tomas, and suddenly Macros Pug and the two black-robed men and Arutha were there. He looked back and saw Riath huddled in the corner, a terrible mass, smoking of wounds. The dragon appeared dead, or if still alive, then only for a short while longer. She had met her destiny as she had foretold, and Tomas vowed she would be remembered. Beyond her, recumbent form, the Valheru treasure vault had been torn open, in the struggle between dragon and dreadlord, emptying its contents of gold and gems, books and artifacts across the floor. Arutha leapt to his feet and asked, "What has happened?" I think it's almost over," Tomas said as he jumped down. Macross staggered, and Pug and the others moved as the sound of shrieking winds became a terrible force, buffeting the ears. Suddenly, all covered their ears as a terrible concussion sounded, and the very roof of the chamber exploded upward, destroying the very soil above the ancient vault, and the cellars and lower floors of the crate. A geyser of masonry and stone and fragments of two buildings were carried high into the sky, to be strewn outward into the city. High in the air above them, an opening, a grey sparkling nothing appeared against the blue, and from within it, a blaze of many colours could be seen. Pug, Hochopeppa, and Elgahar had all seen such a display once before, each in turn when upon the tower testing the city of magicians. It was the vision of the enemy seen at the time of the Golden Breach, when the nations had fled to Kelawon during the Chaos Wars. "It is coming through!" shouted Hochopeppa. Macross shouted above the terrible howling sound from the gym, "The Life Stone! It's been activated!" Pug looked about in confusion. "But we're still alive." Tomas pointed to where his golden sword struck the upright into the Life Stone. "I killed Draken Koren before he could finish utilizing the Life Stone. It's only partly activated." "What will happen?" shouted Pug over the ear-shattering noise. "I don't know." Macross joined the others in covering his ears. At the top of his lungs, he shouted, "We need a force barrier!" At once, Pug knew what was needed and attempted to fashion the magic that would keep them from being destroyed. "Hocho! Elgahar! Aid me!" He began his incantation. The others joined him in, to fashion a protective barrier about them. The sound increased to the pitch where Arutha found his hands over his ears did no good. He gritted his teeth in pain, fighting against the urge to scream, wondering if the magicians could finish their incantations. The light from the Lifestone grew in intensity to a blinding pure white with silver flares about the edge. It seemed ready to unleash some terrible destruction. The prince was nearly numb from fatigue and the horror of what had occurred in the last few hours. He dully wondered what it would be like for the planet to die. Then he would stand with pain no longer and began to scream. As Pug finished the incantation, the room exploded. Got to go, everyone from New Zealand. See you all another time. Good night, Sortok. Thank you for joining us as always, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, my friend. Be well. A ragged trembling commenced in the ground, a roiling, surging like an earthquake, and Guy turned to regard the city. The soldiers of Shamatel and Reth and the Surani were fleeing alongside those from Sethanon and High Castle. Mixed in were goblins, trolls, and a few steadfast dark brothers. But all combat was forgotten. As every creature in the city fled, a feeling of impending doom, a terror palpable down to the fibre of their being. Black emotions, dark horror, and despair had suddenly washed over every living creature, robbing them of any urge to fight. To the last, each wished only to be as far away as possible and as much distance between themselves and the source of that desperate fear. Then a low, rolling pulse began. A stunning noise of grating, painful quality. All within earshot of the sound fell to their knees. Men vomited as their stomachs constricted from the horrible sense of directionlessness, as if suddenly the force that held them to the ground vanished. Eyes watering and ears ached as they seemed to rise upward. All felt as if they were floating for an instant, then they were wrenched to the ground, slammed as if struck by a giant hand. Then came the explosion. Any who were struggling to stand were again thrown down as a light of impossible brilliance shot straight upward, as if the sun had exploded. It hurled shards of stone and earth and wood skyward, a monstrous upheaval of energies. High above Sethanon, a red sparkle grew, a blinding light that dulled quickly to a point of grey nothingness. There came an unexpected silence, while vortices of energy danced within the greyness, as if the fabric of heaven were being turned back upon itself. The edges of the rent in the sky peeled backward, revealing another universe in the skies. The cascading colors that were the might, the energy, the very life of the Dragon Lords could be seen pulsing and surging forward as if seeking to pass the last barrier between themselves and their final goal. Then came a sound. A silver trumpet note of incredible volume sounded, piercing every being within miles of the city, as if a wind of needles passed through their bodies. The agony of final hopelessness overwhelmed them all. A thing of despair again sounded through the minds of every creature within sight of Sethanon, as each was suddenly aware their life was somehow tied to what they witnessed. Panic rose in each observer, even to the most battle-tested soldier, and to a man all wept and cried out, for they were seeing the last moments of their very existence. Then all noise ceased. In the eerie silence, something formed in the blaze of the colors in the sky. The grey nothingness had spread outward until the whole of the heavens seemed blanked out by it. And in the heart of that intense display, the enemy appeared. At first it seemed dull blotches of color, pulsing and shifting as it pushed itself through the gap between worlds. But as it began to pass through, it began to dissolve into smaller blots of bright colors, shifting energy forms that solidified into distinct shapes. Soon all on the ground could see individual beings, man-shaped creatures, each mounted upon the back of a dragon in the heart of the rift. With an explosion surpassing all before, the dragon host sprang through the rift in the sky, thundering into the world of their birth. Hundreds of beings, each mythically linked to the others, swept out of the rift, crying ancient battle calls. They were images of terrible beauty, magnificent beings of astonishing power. In armor of bright color and splendid form, riding upon the backs of their ancient dragons, incredible beasts, many gone ages from Midkemia, beat gigantic wings across the heavens. Great black, green, and blue dragons, extinct upon their homeworlds, soared beside the gold and bronze creatures whose descendants were still alive. Reds whose like were common glided next to silver unseen in Midkemia in ages. The Valheru's faces were masks of gleeful joy as they seized the moment of victory and savored it. Each seemed a vessel of unsurpassed power, ruler of all he surveyed. They were power. As they appeared, a pain of nearly unendurable intensity was felt within the body of each creature upon the planet, as if their strand of life was somehow being pulled. Then, at the moment of deepest terror, when all hope seemed abandoned, a force rose upward from the deep within the crater below the keep. A surge of energy fountained above the city, twisting in confusion and leaping across the rooftops. It danced a furious jig in mad abandon as green fire spread outward, pouring like liquid flame into ever-widening circles. Then, with a dull thumping sound, loud but not painful to the ears, a gigantic cloud of dust was hurled skyward, and all noise ceased. Something answered the chaos in the skies. It was unseen but felt, a thing of titanic dimension, a rejection of all the black and evil despair experienced only moments before, as if all the love and wonder of creation had given voice to a soul. It rose to challenge the dragon host. A green light appeared to match that red light of a moment before. It sprang upward from the crater in the ground to strike at the rift. Those in the van of the dragon host were engulfed in the green light, and each was touched. It began a thing of insustainability, a wraith of a past epoch, a shadow of an earlier era. The dragon lords became clouds of colored smoke, beings of mist and memory. They trembled and danced as if held in thrall by opposing and equal forces. Then they were suddenly sucked downward, as if being pulled into the ground by an irresistible wind. The riderless dragons screamed and wheeled, flying furiously away from the wind, now free of their master's command. Toward all points of the compass they dispersed. The earth shook beneath those who watched in stunned wonder, and the sound of that wind was both fearsome and beautiful to hear, as if the gods themselves had composed a death song. Then the tear in the sky vanished in a single instant, and no display, no hint it had existed. The wind ceased, and the silence was stunning. Tadol Tavern Keeper, I have a question. Ask your question, my friend. No, we're not in the chamber. We were above ground, viewing things from the soldier's point of view. So probably Guy's point of view, if we had to guess, out in the town. Holy bone pain out of nowhere. Time for a potion, I think. Caffeine quest, BRB. That's all right, Jazz. That's all right. That was intense. Yeah, we still have 15 pages to go, so we're not quite done yet. Butterbeer time! Darth Nexus, my friend, good to see you. So very glad that you could join us. Alright, where was I? Jimmy looked around. He found himself crying, then laughing, then crying. Suddenly, he felt as if all the horrors he had known, all the pain he had experienced, had been banished. Yeah, imagine, Jimmy is a 16-year-old kid. Chris, you absolutely should. So, we have a readathon coming up. I'm going to announce this since we have most of the folk who are in here now. Once we finish this book and the book that we're reading on Thursday, which is probably going to be about 2 weeks from now, we're going to have a readathon. That readathon is going to be a week, maybe two, of just every day we're going to do some reading. And it'll probably be Lord of the Rings. It'll probably be the Tolkien saga. So it'll probably be Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, and then a little bit of the Silmarillion and Unfinished Tales. So we're going to have all of that going on. During that readathon, we're going to be giving away a bunch of some of our things. We're going to be giving away a tankard. We're going to be giving away some books. And amongst the books that we're going to be giving away, we are going to be giving away some of Feist's books. We'll probably give away a full collection and then a couple of paperbacks. We haven't quite decided yet, but we are going to give some away. I wonder if Raymond has gotten better at transition since his books. Probably not. Writers who write like this, they tend to keep this style. Yeah, the first book is a very slow burn. It's a good book, but it's a very slow burn. Okay, back to the story. Suddenly he felt right, to the deepest center of his being. He felt connected with every living thing upon the planet. He felt his being filled with life and with love, and he knew that at last they had won. Somehow, at the moment of their triumph, the Varheru had been overcome. They had been defeated. The young squire stood upon wobbly legs, laughing in joy as tears fell unashamedly down his face. He found himself with his arms about a Surani soldier who also grinned and cried at once. Guy was helped again to his feet and regarded the scene about him. Goblins, trolls, and dark brothers, and an occasional giant were staggering northward, but no one was yet giving chase. The soldiers of the kingdom and the Surani simply watched the spectacle of the city, for now a dome of impossible green light glowed over Sethanon. A green so bright it was visible in the sunlight of a clear autumn day, and so beautiful it filled all who watched with a wonder of overpowering intensity. A song of awesome joy sounded within the hearts of all who saw the dome, felt rather than heard. At every hand, men wept openly as they regarded something of sublime perfection, filling them with joy beyond description. The green dome seemed to flicker, but that might have been the result of the dust passing into clouds about it. Guy watched, unable to take his eyes from it. Even the goblins and trolls who staggered past were changed, as if drained of any desire to fight. Guy sighed and felt the joy within begin to lessen, and was visited with a certainty that never again in his life would he know such a perfect moment of joy, such a wondrous rapture. Armand de Sevny came hurrying towards his old ally, Martin, a dwarf, and a dwarf short way behind. Guy! He said, taking the place of the Surani holding his former commander, and framed upright as he hugged him fiercely. Both men rocked back and forth with arms around each other, laughing and weeping. Quietly, Dubastira said, Somehow, we've won. Armand nodded, then said, Arutha. Guy shook his head sadly. Nothing could have survived inside that. Nothing. Martin and Dolgan arrived at the head of the band, and the dwarven warriors... At the head of the band of dwarven warriors, the king of the dwarves of the west came to stand next to Guy and Armand, and he spoke quietly. "'Tis a terrible thing. 'Tis a thing of terrible and infinite beauty." Now the dome of light seemed to take on the appearance of a giant gem, as if composed of hexagonal facets. Each facet shone brightly, but dimmed at a different rate, giving the dome the appearance of sparkling. The feeling of perfection was dimmed, as was the surging joy, but still a calm wonder could be felt by all who looked upon it. Martin tore his eyes from the sight and said, Arutha. Guy said, He vanished in there with 3 men who came by Dragonback. The elf knows their names. As the vision before them pulsed, Guy forced his attention back to mundane concerns. Gods, what a mess, Martin. You'd better have some men chase those Dark Brothers home before they can reform and come back. Dolgan quietly removed his pipe from his belt pouch. My lads are already seeing to that, but they won't mind company. Though somehow I don't think the Morridale and their servants We'll be needing much urgent, truth is. I doubt any here today have much of an itch for fighting left. Then, outlined against the glowing green sphere through the dust, came the silhouettes of 6 men, half walking, half limping. Martin and the others were silent as the 6 came nearer, each rendered almost featureless by the thick mantle of dust. Then, they were halfway between the city gates and the onlookers. Martin shouted, "Arutha!" At once, the men were hurrying forward to give aid to Arutha and his companions. Each had a pair of soldiers offering to help them walk, but Arutha only halted and embraced his brother. Martin put his arms around his brother's shoulders, crying in open relief of seeing him alive again. After a long moment, they separated and turned to regard the glowing dome over the city. A sudden renewal of sensation of harmony, with all life and love washed over them. A wondrous feeling of sublime perfection. Then it vanished. No, but he's my favorite author. I was in love with Arutha for so long. Arutha and this book is such a wonderful book, Jillian. Like it is such this series was so good. And now, to be fair, so everyone knows, there are 32 other books in this series. Not all of them are directly related, but there are 32 other books in this series, and they're all at least relatively related in some way to the Rift War. Some of them way out in the future, but yes, there are a lot. Feist absolutely did everything that he could to keep this alive. Sorry to interrupt, but was wondering what happened to Galadriel when Frodo offered her the ring. No, so no problem, no trouble at all. Let me check something real quick, because we may actually need to run ads over for our Twitch friends. Yeah, so Twitch friends, we have almost 14 pages left. So I'm gonna run another round of ads for our friends over on Twitch, so they get another hour without it. And then we will be... How'd they get outside the city? I thought they are inside, so they're walking from inside the city. Because they were inside the city, they're walking from inside the center of the city to the wall where Martin and Guy and Dolgan are. Bethany. So real quick, friends, over on Twitch, we are going to run ads. We'll be back in 3 minutes, and then we'll have an hour without them. I appreciate anyone willing to sit through. Twitch makes us do it. I wish we didn't have to, but is what it is. We'll be right back. So, T-Dolt, I'll just call you Dolt, if you don't mind. So, in the film, she turns blue, but that's because it's meant to represent or show magic, because she's very magically powerful. She's one of the oldest elves in Middle-earth. She's one of the wisest elves in Middle-earth. That particular scene was done for cinematic drama, but what is being portrayed there is that she is being tempted by the ring. She is being tempted to take the power of the One Ring to dominate all in Middle-earth, because that is what the ring does. So the question was, for everybody who else was listening, sorry to interrupt, but I was wondering what happened to Galadriel when Frodo offered her the ring. Why'd she turn all blue? So she doesn't turn blue in the book, but she is tempted by the power of the ring. And that's because the ring itself holds the soul of Sauron. Sauron is what is called a Maiar, and the Maiar are essentially the demigods of this world. They're if there were gods in Middle-earth, that's what these would be. The Maiar are essentially like angels or demigods in power equivalency, whereas Galadriel is like the first being created, so she would be like Adam and Eve if we were taking Bible terms. The elves would be like Adam and Eve, the first beings made by Ilúvatar, who is Eru Ilúvatar, who is the creator in Middle-earth. So the ring is literally the soul and all of the power of a Maiar, Sauron. He put his entire soul into the ring, or most of his soul into the ring. And she's tempted by it because that is what its job is. Its job is to tempt power because it has the ability to dominate people into obedience and perfection, because that was Sauron's ambition, was to dominate over all in Middle-earth so that he could create perfection. But the reason why she is then able to go back to Valinor, because she was banned from Valinor when she came to Middle-earth along with a bunch of other elves, but her resisting the temptation of the ring is why she's allowed to return to Valinor, because she has proven that her ambition, her desire for power and to be separate from the Valar is gone. And that's why she's allowed to return to Valinor after she resists the power of the ring. You would be reading Feist for the rest of the time if we went through the whole song. That's true, Tyson, that's true. Great, you're going to make me get a bigger bookshelf or a second bookshelf. Not that I really mind. I enjoy a good book in a better series, so it takes time. Yeah, and it seems like, from what I've heard from people who are fans of Feist, it seems like he stays pretty consistent in his quality. I've only heard complaints about 2 of the books in the 36 books that he's written in this world. So, if you write 36 books and only 2 of them are bad, I'd say there's a pretty good track record. Feist can be hard to follow. He can. He is a little bit of he does do a lot of jumpy writing, that's for sure. Logan, thank you kindly for the hard me, my friend. I appreciate that. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. I see, thanks for explaining. I'll now settle back in for the story. Always a pleasure, Dolt. Always a pleasure. Something that folks need to understand, Martin always knew that Arutha was his brother. It's only recently come to light that Martin is Boric's bastard. That's true. And that's part of the reason why Martin is so attached to Arutha and Liam, is because he's always known they were his brother, but they've only recently, in like the last 5 years, learned that they were his brother. Martin always looked out for his younger brothers, right? Yeah, I think Fairy Tale was the one... The one you're talking about is one of the ones I've heard complaints about, because it was sort of like, it was so far outside of his normal genre. Thank you, Frost. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you kindly. All right, friends, we're going to get back in. We got 14 pages left. So settle in, fill your mugs. We're almost at the end. The green lights of the dome winked out of existence and the dust began to settle. Macros spoke in a hoarse croak. It's finally over! Liam moved through the camp, inspecting the ragged remains of those who fought at High Castle in Sethanon. Arutha walked by his side, still sore and battered from the struggle. The king said, "This is an astonishing tale. I can't believe it. I can believe it only because the proof lies before my eyes." Arutha said, "I lived it, and I can scarcely believe what I saw." Liam glanced about. "Still, from everything you've said, we're lucky to be seeing anything at all. I guess we have much to be thankful for," he sighed. "You know, when we were boys, I'd have sworn being king would be a grand thing." He looked thoughtfully at Arutha. "Just as I would have sworn that I was as smart as you and Martin." With a rueful smile, he said, "The proof that I'm not was that I didn't follow Martin's example and renounce the crown." "Nothing but messes. I've got Hazara Khan prowling about, engaging in chit-chats with half the nobles in the kingdom, and I've no doubt picking up state secrets like they were seashells on the beach. Now the rift is reopened, and I need to communicate with the Emperor and see if I can arrange for a prisoner exchange, except that we don't have any, having made them all free men, so Kasumi and Hokanu tell me we'll probably have to buy the captives back, which means raising taxes, and I've got 100 or more dragons, some not seen in this world in many ages, flying in every direction, who may land wherever they will when they get hungry. Then there's the problem of the entire city being ruined." Arutha said, "Consider the alternative. But it wasn't, as if it wasn't enough, you handed me Dubas Tira to deal with, and, from what you said, he's a hero in the bargain. Half the lords in the kingdom want me to find a tree to hang him, and the other half are ready to hang me if he tells them to do so. He regarded his brother with a skeptical eye. I think I should have taken a hint when Martin renounced, and just dropped the crown on you. Give me a decent pension, and I still might. Arutha's expression turned dark and cloudy at even a hint he would be having to be more responsible. Liam looked about as Martin shouted greetings. Anyway, he said to Arutha, I think I know what I'll do about the last. Liam waved over to Martin, who hurried over. Did you find her? The Duke of Crowdy grinned. Yes. She was with a group of auxiliaries from Tearsog that marched a half-day behind. Me and all the way here. The ones who came along with Kasumi's Lamutians and Dolgan's dwarfs. Liam had been touring the site of battle for a day and a half with Arutha. Since he had arrived, his army had been the last to reach the battlefield, for winds from Rillanon to Celador had been unfavorable. With a jerk of his thumb over his shoulder, he indicated where the nobles of the kingdom were gathered, near his pavilion. Well, he said, they're all dying to know what we do now. Have you decided? Asked Arutha to Martin. The prince, who stayed in council all night with Liam, Pug, Tomas, Macross, and Laurie, while Martin had combed the camp looking for Brianna, discussed the disposition of many matters, now that the threat of Myrmandamus was averted. Martin looked positively jubilant. Yes. We're to be married as soon as possible. If there's a priest of any order left among the city refugees, then tomorrow. Liam said, I think you'll have to stem your passion long enough for some sort of state wedding. Martin's expression began to cloud over. Liam burst into laughter. Hell, now you look just like he does, he said, pointing to Arutha. The king was suddenly overcome with a deep affection for his brothers and threw his arms about their necks. Hugging them fiercely, he spoke in a voice thick with emotion. I'm so proud of you both, and I know father would be. For a moment, the three stood with their arms about each other. Brightening his tone, Liam said, Come, let us restore some order to our kingdom. Then we can celebrate. Damn me, but if we don't have a reason, no one ever has. He gave both a playful shove, and then, with all three laughing, herded them into the pavilion. That's all right, Frost. Go rest, go rest. Lurking from here on out, I need to get some rest after all that has happened. That's all right, brother, rest, and I appreciate you for all your help. Cassie said, Are Salvatore, I started on my dad's cleric quintet, and then somewhere along the road in time I got the Drow trilogy and found out there was nearly 40 books. Yeah, that's a lot. That is a lot. That is quite a bit. And to a degree, I get it. Like, if you are... It's also one of those things where, like, you're happy. If you really, really love the books, then you're happy for it, right? Like, if you love a series really well, and then you find out, oh my gosh, there are 40 books in this series. There are close to 10,000 pages for me to read. But then if the series is done and that's all there is, when you start to get to the end, then you're gonna get that sadness, right? The big sad of when a book series that you hold deep in your heart runs out, then you get sad about it. Pug watched as Liam entered with his brothers. Macross leaned against his shaft beside Kulgan, with the other magicians from Stardock in the assembly clustered behind. Katala hung on her husband as if unwilling to let him go. So Katala is a girl from Calawan, she's a Surani, but she married Pug, who's the magician, and she's not been happy that he's been gone for as long as he has been. And my absolute favorite. A lot of folk have been trying to get the Drow series into Storytime for a while, Cassie. It's been one of the ones that's kind of moved up and down the list as we've gone through the more popular series, and as we're tapering off in them, because we're finishing up Harry Potter in the next 2 weeks, so that'll be done. We're gonna have, I think, the ones that are probably gonna be for the family story time. I think Aragon will probably win. Aragon's been on the list for a while. A lot of people have really wanted Aragon to be the next series that we do, so we'll probably do Aragon, and then we will probably we might continue in the mid Kemia. We might do something else. I don't know. You guys vote on all of the stories, so I don't know what books will be next, but we'll have to see. Delano Vandergeld, hello and welcome in, my friend. Grab your seat. We're almost at the end. We have 10 more pages in this book, and then it'll be done. So grab your seat. As if unwilling to let him go, while William and Gamina clung to his robe. He tousled the girl's hair, pleased to discover he had inherited a daughter in the time he'd been gone. Off to one side, Kasumi spoke quietly to his younger brother. For the first time in 3 years, they were together. Okanu and the soldiers most loyal to the Empire had been sent to aid the Black Robes of the Assembly when they had come. Both brothers of the Shinzawi had been interviewed by Liam earlier that day. For, as he had said, the return to the rift between worlds had created some difficulties. Laurie and Baru joined Martin, who kept his arm around Brianna's waist. The red-headed warrior called Shiga leaned upon his spear behind them, quietly observing the proceedings despite his inability to understand what was being said. They had arrived with Brianna, as had other survivors from Armengar, marching with an army under Vandros of Yabon. Most of the Armengarian soldiers were out with the dwarves, chasing the host of Myrmandamus back north. Next to them was Dolgan and Galen. Galen is the lead advisor from the Forest Elves. Watched the dwarf seeming to have aged not one day. The only indication of his rise to the throne of the Western Dwarves was the hammer of Tholin, which hung at his belt. Otherwise, he looked exactly as Pug had remembered him from the time when they had braved the mines under the Great Tower Mountains. He spied Pug from across the tent and gave him a smile and a wave. Liam held up his hand. Many things have been told to us since our arrival. Wondrous tales of bravery and heroism, narratives of duty and sacrifice. With upheaval here, some issues become resolved. We have spoken to many of you, taking good counsel, and now we have some proclamations to make. In the first, though the people of the city of Armengar are foreign to our nation, they are brethren to our people of Yabon. We welcome them back as brothers returned and offer them a place alongside their king. They may count themselves as citizens of the kingdom. Any wish return to the north and settle in that land, we shall aid them in whatever way we may. But we hope they will stay. We also offer deep thanks to King Dolgan and his followers for their timely aid. I also wish to thank Galen the elf for his willingness to help our brother, and to let it be known that our lords, the Prince of Krondor and the Duke of Krati and Salador, have served their kingdom beyond any measure, and the crown is in their debt. So Laurie did survive. We didn't know that, but it sounds like Laurie did survive. Laurie is the fiancée of Princess Carline. Princess Carline, who is Duke Boric's daughter. Yes, I've read this book. I used to buy any of the Drow series books I could find off the shelves of local bookstores. I liked them so much, but then I was missing parts of the story because I was reading in large gaps. That'll have. Sometimes it's kind of fun to do it that way, like discovering old tomes, right? I caught your wonderful break from reality. Yep, good to see you. Welcome in. So very glad that you could join us. All right, where was I? No king could ever demand of his subjects what they freely gave. Then, in a precedent-making display, Liam led a cheer for Arutha, Laurie, and Martin. The pavilion rang with cheers of the assembled nobles. Now, let Earl Kasumi of Lamut and his brother Hukanu of the Shinzawi approach. The two Surani had come before him, Liam said. Kasumi, first of all, relay to your brother, and through him to the Emperor and his soldiers, our undying gratitude for their generous and valiant efforts in saving this nation from grave peril. Kasumi began to translate for his brother. Pug felt a hand upon his shoulder and turned to find Macross inclining his head. Pug kissed Katala and whispered, I'll be back shortly. Katala nodded and held on to her children, knowing that for once her husband was not just saying that. She watched while Macross took Tomas and Pug away a short distance. Liam said, Now, that the way has been opened, we shall permit those of the garrison of Lamut who wish to return to their homeland to do so, freeing them of vassalage to us. Kasumi bowed his head. My liege, I am pleased to inform you that most of my men have elected to remain, saying that while your generosity overwhelms them, they are now men of the kingdom, with wives, families, and ties. I shall also remain. We're pleased, Kasumi. We are very pleased. The two withdrew, and Liam said, Now, let Armand de Sivney, Bolden de la Trouville, and Arthur Dumasny come forward. The three men came and bowed. Liam said, Kneel. And the three men bent their knees before their king. Anthony Dumasny, you are herewith granted again your titles and land of the barony of Calvary, taken from you when you were sent to the north, and add to them the title once held by Bolden de la Trouville. We are pleased with your service. What is this music? Hang on a second. Hang on. The song got very strange. Can I fix that real quick? There we go. Good night, Molly. Rest well. I hope that you have wonderful rest, and we will see you again on Thursday for more story time. Have a good night. We have need of you, as we have given your office of Squire of Malsborough to Dumasny. We have another for you. Will you accept the post of commander of our outpost at High Castle? De la Trouville said, Yes, sir. Though, if it pleases the crown, I'd like to winter in the south now and again. From the crowd a laugh answered, and Liam said, Granted. For we shall also grant you titles formerly held by Armand de Sivney, Rice, Baldwin, Baron of High Castle, and Glendholt. He looked at Armand de Sivney and said, We have plans for you, my friend. Let the former Duke of Bastira be brought forth. Guards in the colours of the king came with Guy de Bastira, half escorting, half carrying him with the king's pavilion, where he had been convalescing with Amos Trask. When Guy halted next to the kneeling Armand, the king said, Guy de Bastira, you've been branded a traitor and banished, not to return to our nation upon pain of death. We understand you had little choice in the matter of your return. He cast a glance at Arutha, who smiled ruefully. We hereby rescind your order of banishment. Now, there is a matter of title. We are giving the office of Duke of Bastira to the man of your brother. Arutha has judged it most fit, Armand de Sivney. We hereby grant unto you the office of Lord of the Duchy of Bastira, with all rights and obligations pertaining thereunto. Rise, Duke Armand de Sivney. Liam turned his gaze upon Guy. Even without your hereditary office, we think we shall keep you busy. Kneel. Guy was helped to kneel by Armand. Guy de Bastira, for your deep concern with the welfare of the kingdom, despite her having cast you out and your bravery in the defence of both Armengar and this kingdom, we shall offer you an office of first advisor to the king. Will you accept? Guy's good eye widened, and then he laughed. This is a grand jest, Liam. Your father having a fit somewhere. Yes, I'll take it. The king shook his head and smiled, remembering his father. No, we think he understands. Rise, Guy, Duke of Rillanon. Next, Liam said, Baru of the Hadati. Baru left Laurie, Martin, and Brianna and knelt before the king. Your bravery is without peer, both in destroying the Moradel Murat and in accompanying my brother Martin and Duke Laurie over the mountains to bring us warning of Mermandamus' invasion. We have thought long and hard, and are at a loss as to what to offer you. What may we do to show our pleasure at your service? Baru said, Majesty, I desire no reward. I have many new kinsmen come to Yabon, and will make my home with him, if I may. Liam said, Then go, with our blessings, and should you need anything within our power to grant, to ease the relocation of your kinsmen, you have but to ask. Baru rose and returned to stand with his friends, who all smiled. Baru had found a new home and a purpose in life. Other rewards were given, and the business of the court continued. Arutha remained apart, wishing that Anita could be with him, but knowing he was only days away from her. He saw Macross off in the distance speaking with Pog and Tomas, and the three figures stood in shadow. As the day was coming to a close, evening rapidly approaching, Arutha sighed in fatigue and wondered what they were concerned with now. Macross said, Then you understand? So we're with Pug, Macross, and Tomas now. Pug said, Yes, but it's still a hard thing. He didn't need to speak any more. He had full measure of the knowledge gained when he and the sorcerer had been joined. Now he was Macross's equal in power and almost his equal in knowledge. But he would miss the presence of the sorcerer. Now he knew his fate. All things come to an end, Pug. Now it is the end of my time upon this world. With the ending of our hero presence, my powers have returned fully. I will move on to something new. Gathers will join me, and the others at my island are cared for. So I have no more duties here. I must move onward, just as you must stay here. There will be kings to counsel and little boys to teach, old men to argue with, wars to avoid, wars to be fought. He sighed as if again he wished for a final release. Then his tone lightened. Still, it is never boring. It is never that. Be sure the king knows that what we have done here. He regarded Tomas. The human turned Valheru looked somehow different since the final battle, and Macross spoke softly. Tomas, you have the Eldar returning home at last. Their self-imposed exile in Elvardane at an end. You'll need to aid your queen in ruling the new Elvandar. Many of the Glamredale will be seeking you out now that they know Elvandar exists. And you'll also find an increase in returnings, I think. Now that the influence of that hero is confined, the Lord of the Dark Path should weaken. At least, we can hope so. Seek inward as well, Tomas. But I think you'll find much of your power is now gone with those who were Ashen Shakur's brethren. You will stand with the most powerful of mortals. But I wouldn't seek to master dragons if I were you. I think they might give you a shock. Tomas said. I felt myself change at the last. He had seemed subdued in his battle with Draken Corin. Am I again mortal? Macross nodded. You always were. The power of the Valheru changed you. and that change will not be reversed. But you were never immortal. You were simply close to it. But do not worry. You've retained a great deal of the Valheru heritage. You'll live out a long life beside your queen. At least as long as any of elvenkind are allotted by fate. At those words, Tomas seemed reassured. Keep vigilant, both of you. The Pantathians spent centuries planning and executing this deceit. It was a plot of stunning detail. But the powers granted to the one who posed as Mermandamus were no mean set of conjurer's illusion. He was a force. To have created such a one, and have captured and manipulated the hearts of even a race as dark as the Moradel, required much. Perhaps without the Valheru influence across the barriers of space and time, servant people may become, much as others, just another intelligent race among many. He looked off into the distance. And again, perhaps not. Be wary of them. Alpin, my friend, hello and welcome in. Good to see you, Randy. We see there is nothing to stop you from moving forward. Why are you making it seem so hard to do so? Come on. What is... I'm confused at the question, Randy. Tas, thank you for the heart, me, my friend. Tips to the tavern keeper are always appreciated. I also found a bit of a gremlin. I learned to be somewhat easier. Oh, a little bit of German. I learned to be somewhat easier than English. That could be just age, but who knows? Funny enough, I read backwards just fine. I'm so sorry to anyone over on the YouTube portal. I didn't see... For some reason, those were not coming in. Just a second, friends. Nope, don't do that. Don't do that. All right. Sorry. Fixed it. Wonderful. Oh. We have... Oh, we're coming close to the end, my friends. We are coming close to the end. Pug spoke slowly. Macros, at the end, I was certain we had lost. Macros smiled an enigmatic smile. So was I. Perhaps the Valheru manipulated the life stone. Was prevented from reaching fruition by Tomas's sword stroke. I don't know. The rift was opened and the dragon host allowed to enter, but the old sorcerer's eyes seemed alight with some deep emotion. Some wonder or another, beyond my understanding, intervened at the last. He looked downward. It was as if the very stuff of life, the souls of all that lived upon this world, rejected the Valheru. The power of the Lifestone aided us, not them. That was from where I drew the strength of the last. It was that which captured the dragon host, and the dread lord enclosed the rift. It was that which protected us all, keeping us alive. He smiled. You should seek with care, to learn as much as you can about the Lifestone. It is a wonder beyond what any of us suspected. Macros was silent for a time, and then looked at Pug. You are as much a son to me, in a strange sort of way, as any I may have called that over the ages. At least you are my heir, and husbander of all the magic lore I have accumulated since coming to Midkemia. That last case of books and scrolls I held at my island will come to you at Stardock. I suggest you hide that fact from Kogan and Hochopepa until you've reviewed what's there. Some of it is beyond any on this world but you, and whoever may follow you in your unusual calling. Train those around you well, Pug. Make them powerful, but make them loving, generous men and women as well. He paused, and he looked at the two boys grown to men. Those lads from Cryde, whom 12 years ago had begun to mold to save the world and more. This is not him, so. Those lads from Cryde, whom 12 years ago he had begun to mold to save the world and more. At last he said, I have used both of you. urgently at times. But in the end, it proved necessary. Whatever pain you may have endured is, I like to think, offset by the gains. You have achieved things beyond your boyhood dreams. You are now the caretakers of Midkemia. You have whatever blessings I may give. And with an unusual catch in his voice, his eyes moist and glowing, he softly said, "Goodbye. Thank you." He stepped away from them, then slowly turned. Neither Pug nor Tomas could bring himself to say goodbye. Macross began walking towards the west into the sunset. Not only did he move away from them, but with the first step he seemed to somehow become less solid. With each additional step he became more insubstantial, transparent, and soon he was like mist, then less than mist, then he was gone. They watched him go, saying nothing for a while. Then Tomas wondered. Will he ever know peace, do you think? Pug said, I don't know. Perhaps someday he'll find his blessed isle. They were again silent for a time. Then they returned to the king's pavilion. There was a celebration in full swing. Martin and Brianna had announced their plans to wed, to the obvious approval of everyone. Now, while the others reveled in life and survival and the simpler joy of living, Arutha, Liam, Tomas, and Pug picked their way through the rubble of what was left of Sethanon. The populace was housed in the less damaged western section, but they were only a distant presence. Still, they moved cautiously, lest anyone observe them. Tomas led them through a large crack in the ground to what appeared to be a cave opening below the rubble of the keep. Here, said Tomas, a fissure is open, leading down into the low chamber, the center of the ancient city. Step carefully. Slowly they descended, seeing by a dim light of Pug's magic arts, and soon they entered the chamber. Pug waved his hand, and a brighter light sprang forth. Tomas motioned the king forward. Figures in robes stepped out of the shadows, and Arutha drew his sword. A woman's voice came from the dark. Put up your sword, Prince of the Kingdom. Tomas nodded, and Arutha resheathed his mystic blade. From out of the dark came an enormous figure, bejeweled and brilliant, as the light danced across a myriad of facets. It was a dragon, but none like any he had seen. For in the place of scales, once golden, 1,000 gemstones glowed. With each movement, a rainbow of dazzling beauty washed over the monstrous form. Who are you? Asked the king calmly. I am the Oracle of all, came a soft voice from the dragon's mouth. We struck a bargain, said Pug. We needed to find her a proper body. Tomas said, Riath was rendered mindless, her soul gone at the hands of the Dreadlord. Her body still lived, though damaged severely and hovering close to death. Macross healed her, replaced the destroyed scales with new ones, fashioned from the gems hidden in treasure here. Using some unique property of the Lifestone, with his restored arts, he brought the Oracle and her servants here. Now the Oracle lives within the emptied mind. It is a more than satisfactory body, said the Oracle. It will live for many centuries, and it possesses many powers. And, added Pog, she will remain forever vigilant over the Lifestone. For if any were to tamper with it, she would perish along with everyone else upon the planet. Until we may find to seek out and deal with the Pantathians. The risk will still exist that the Valheru could be recalled. Liam regarded the Lifestone. The pale green gem glowed softly, seeming to pulse with a warm inner light. And from its center a golden sword protruded. We do not know if this destroys the Dragon Lords or merely holds them in thrall, said Pug. Even the magics I learned from Macros may not penetrate all its mysteries. We are fearful of removing Tomos's sword, for to do so might cause no harm at all, or it might unleash what has trapped them within. Liam shuddered. Of all he had heard, the power of the Life Stone had made him feel most helpless. He approached it and slowly put forth his hand. The stone proved warm to the touch, and contact filled him with a mild, relaxing pleasure. There was a sense of rightness in the stone. The king faced the mighty form of the bejeweled dragon. I have no objection to your stewardship, lady. He thought and then spoke to Arutha. Start some rumour that the city's now cursed. Brave little Humphrey's dead, and there's no heir to his title. I'll move what's left of the populace and pay them indemnity. The city's more than half destroyed already. Let's empty it out, and the oracle will remain undisturbed. Let us leave, lest we are missed at the revel. Someone comes and seeks after us. To the dragon he said, Lady, I wish you well in your office. Should you have any need, send a message by means of magic or mundane, and I shall seek to meet it. Only we four, and my brother Martin, shall know the truth of you, and from this time forward, only our heirs. You are most gracious, your majesty, answered the oracle. Tomos was led out of the cavern and upward to the surface. The music is very loud. Good night. I'm starting to fall asleep, and I have work early in the morning anyway, so I better get to sleep. Prediction for tomorrow's snow prediction for tomorrow's forecast. See, while I am jealous of the snow, I hope that you stay safe, Cassie. We do only have 2 more pages left in the story. Or 2.5 more pages left. So if you want to keep us up in the background so you can hear the end, I think that would be fine. But if not, rest well, and we will see you on Thursday for more story time. We are coming up very, very quickly on the end, though, my friends. And it seems like all is going to end well, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Feist has a penchant for cliffhangers. Arutha entered his tent and was startled to find Jimmy sleeping in his bed. He shook him gently. What is this? I thought you were given quarters. Jimmy looked at the prince with an ill-concealed grumpiness at being awakened. It's Lockie. The whole damn city coming apart about our rears, and he finds another girl. It's getting to be a habit. Last night I slept on the ground. I just thought I'd catch a nice nap. I'll find another place. Arutha laughed and pushed the youngster back into the cot as he began to rise. Stay here. I'll bunk in the King's Pavilion. Liam was busy handing out rewards this evening. While you slumbered, and Lockie, well, did whatever he was doing. In all the confusion, I overlooked you two. What should I do to reward you, scoundrels? Jimmy grinned. Make Lockie sing your squire so I can go back to the safe, quiet life of a thief. He yawned. Right now, I can't think of a damn thing I want except for a week of sleep. Arutha smiled. All right, get some sleep. I'll come up with something for you young rogues. He left Jimmy and made his way back towards Liam's tent. As he approached the entrance, a shout of announcement and a trumpet flourish accompanied the arrival of a dusty carriage bearing the royal crest. Anita and Carline quickly stepped out. Arutha showed astonishment as his wife and sister rushed forward to hug and kiss him. What is this? We followed Liam, said a tearful Anita. We couldn't wait in Rillanon to find out if you and Nori were alive. As soon as messages reached us, you were well, we broke camp and hurried here. Arutha hugged her as Carline listened to singing a moment and said, Either that's a nightingale in love, or my husband is forgetting that he's a duke. She kissed Arutha once more on the cheek. You're going to be an uncle again. Arutha laughed and hugged his sister. Much love and happiness, Carline. Yes, it's Laurie. He and Baru arrived today with Vandross. She smiled. But I think I'll go and give him some grey hairs. Arutha said. What does she mean again? Anita looked up into her husband's face. The Queen is with child, and the announcement was made while you were gone, and Father Tully sends word to Liam that it seems all signs indicate a prince. Tully claims he's too old for the road now, but his prayers have been with you. Arutha grinned. So I can be done with being the heir soon. Not too soon. The baby will be here for another 4 months. A cheer from within told them Carline had passed along the news of her pregnancy to her husband, and another cheer said that Tully's message had been given as well. Anita hugged her husband and whispered, Your sons are well and getting big. They miss their father, and as I have done. Can we slip away soon? Arutha laughed. As soon as we make an appearance. But I've had to give my quarters to Jimmy. Seems Lockie's developed an amorous nature, and Jimmy had nowhere else to sleep. Soon we'll have use of one of the guest tents in this pavilion. He walked inside with his wife, and assembled nobles rose in greeting to the Prince and Princess of Krondor. The Keshin ambassador, Lord Hazarar Khan, bowed, and Arutha extended his hand. Thank you, Abdul, he said, and he introduced Anita to Hokanu, and again repeated thanks. Dolgan was speaking with Galen, and Arutha congratulated the dwarf on his assumption of the crown of the Western Dwarves. Dolgan threw him a wink and smiled. Then they all fell silent as Laurie began to play. They listened closely while Laurie sang. It was a sad song, yet brave, a ballad he had composed in honor of his friend Rold. He spoke of Laurie's sorrow at his passing, but it ended with a major chord, a note of triumph, then a silly little coda that made all who knew Rold laugh, but it somehow captured his raffish nature. Then Godon and Volney came up to the Earl of Landreth and said, If we may have a brief word with you, Highness. Anita indicated she didn't mind, and Arutha let the 2 men who had ruled in his absence lead them into the room next to the king's chamber. A bulky figure lay upon the bed, breathing heavily, and Arutha raised his finger to his lips, indicating quiet. Godon craned his neck and whispered, Amos Trask? Arutha said softly, It's a very long story, and I'll let him tell it. He'd never forgive me if I didn't. Now, what is it? In a low voice, Volney said, Highness, I want to return to Landreth. With your supposed death, the city's been a rat's warren to administer. I've done my best for the last 3 years, but this is enough. I want to go home. Arutha said, I can't spare you, Volney. The stout Earl's voice started to rise, and Arutha hushed him. Look, there's going to be a new Prince of Condor soon, so we'll need a Principate Regent, Volney said. That's impossible! That's an 18-year commitment! I refuse! Arutha looked at Gardon, who grinned and held up his hands. Don't look at me. Liam promised me I could retire to Crydy with Martin and his lady. With Charles, the new swordmaster, I can leave the soldiering to my son. I plan on spending my days fishing off the breakwater at Long Point. You're going to need some new Knight Marshal soon. Arutha swore. That means if I don't find someone soon, Liam's going to make me Duke of Krondor. Knight Marshal both. I'm going to try and get him to give me some quiet earldom. Like Tuckshill. And never leave home again. He thought hard and silently, then said, I want 10 more years from both of you. Absolutely not, said Volney. The stout noble's voice rose in indignation. I'm willing to stay 1 year to aid any transition in administration, but no more. Arutha's eyes narrowed. 6. Give me 6 more years from each of you. If you agree, you can retire to Landreth, Volney. and you to cry to God on. If not, I'll find a way to drag you off to nothing but trouble. Godon laughed. I have Liam's permission already, Arutha. Seeing the prince's anger growing, said, but if only stays, I'll stay on a year, all right? 2, but no more. Until you get things under control. In an almost evil light entered Arutha's eyes. To Godon he said, we need a new ambassador to the Suroni court, now that the rift is open again. And to Volney he said, we'll need another ambassador to Great Kesh. Both men exchanged glances, and Volney said in a harsh whisper, all right, blackmailer, 3 years. What are you going to do for 3 years? Arutha smiled his crooked smile. I want you to take Jimmy and Lockie's training into hand, personally, Volney. You can teach them everything you can about administration. You can pile the work on until they're ready to drop. Then give them more. I want those overactive minds turned to good use. Make them the best administrators you can. Godon, when they're not in the office, learning to govern, turn them into soldiers. That young bandit asked for a reward a year ago. Now he's going to show me if he's really a match for that request. And his young partner in crime, there's too much talent to let him back to Land's End. Lockie's the youngest son, so he'd simply go to waste there. With you two gone, they're going to need a new Duke and Knight Marshal, and with me gone as well, he's going to be acting as Principate Regent. He'll need an able Chancellor to help him shoulder the burdens of office. So I don't want either of them to have 5 loose minutes for the next 4 years. 4 years? Shouted Volney. I said 3! And then the bed came a chuckle and a sigh as Amos said, Arutha, have you an odd idea of a reward? Whatever gave you such a nasty turn of mind? Arutha grinned openly and said, get some rest, Admiral. Amos fell back heavily on the bunk. Arutha, you shouldn't take all the fun out of life. And so ends A Darkness at Sethanon, my friends. What a wonderful ending to a wonderful book. Absolutely spectacular. That one's going on the honourable shelf, to be sure. May as well save the end for a surprise. I was up for 2 hours this morning. I'm sorry, Cassie. I hope you're off to sleep already. Go and get rest. Absolute. Lockie's hurt of the lass he cared for have changed him to one that confuses love with lust. And he'll find a bed where he can find it, and take affection where he can get it. It's a sad trap that many fall into in young years when they don't have the wisdom of their elders to guide them, that's for sure. Heartbreakings are indeed, Bear. What a wonderful turn of tale. Beautiful, absolutely, Herrick. What a wonderful end to a spectacular book. I have no complaints. Wonderfully done. Well, that was a long chapter. And I'm definitely a bit tuckered by the long read, but that does mean that since we are done early, that I can give you all a couple of songs before we head off. What an ending, and you did it so well. I thank you, Bear. I'm glad that you enjoyed. Well done. How will I know about Thursday's reading? Thursday will be... I'm going to try to start Thursday on time, so we'll be on for Thursday between 4:30 and 5:30 sometime, Nina. Hoist Up the Thing. I think we can do Hoist Up the Thing. That'll be a fine run. And I'm glad that Feist didn't put this on a cliffhanger. Well, he kind of did. LFG, go. I can't say that. I might get kicked off TikTok. But yes, nobody. Oh, absolutely wonderful. All right, friends. Frost. Oh, it was Quart in. I didn't see Quart drop in. Quart, are you still in here, my friend? Thank you for the posture checks and the drinks. I appreciate you for it. Tuna33 Riot, welcome in. Very glad you could join us. Matthew, always a pleasure, Nina. Always a pleasure. Let's do Hoist Up the Thing, and you know what? We haven't done the classics in a while, so why don't we do Hoist Up the Thing, and then we'll do Red is the Rose to send everybody off. And then if you're over on the Twitch portal, we'll raid out to share the love. But for everyone else, we're going to do a couple of songs and then send off. So anyone who needs to go to bed, rest well, my friends. But if you'd like to join us for the song, we're glad to have you. Let's go ahead and do Hoist Up the Thing. Now, for any of you who've never been here for songs before, we sing songs together, and what we do is you sing along with me. We don't sing well, so if you're expecting a wonderful performance, cover your ears. But we do sing just to have fun. So, the song we are going to be singing first is Hoist Up the Thing by the Longest Johns. If you know the lyrics, join in with me, my friends. Let us begin. Fresh out of college with grades straight from hell, I browsed for a trade at which I could excel. An ad for a ship in need of some manning, men, sails, and purpose, but lacking a captain. What luck, says I, to find such good fortune? A few white lies later, I ran down the pier. I bought me a coat and a cutlass or two. I jumped on the deck and I yelled at the crew. Hoist up the thing, batten down the what's-it. Oh, what's that thing spinning? Somebody should stop it. Turn hard to port. That's not port, now I've got it. Trust me, I'm in control. I can't sing the shanties, it has to be said, and all of that grog just goes right to my head. I whale meat is gross and I miss a girl's laugh. 5 weeks at sea and even Dave seems a catch. Hoist up the thing, batten down the what's-it. What's that thing spinning? Somebody should stop it. Turn hard to port. That's not port. Now I've got it. Trust me, I'm in control. We've hit icy waters, no land to be seen. The food's getting low and the beer has gone green. There's rumors of discontent under the deck. If I don't act fast, it could be my neck. So pull up the charts and those weird gold machines. I've no clue what it says, but I see what it says, but I've no clue what it means. So just pull on some levers and yank on some chains and feign a bad back till we've landed again. Hoist up the thing, batten on the what's-it. What's that thing spinning? Somebody should stop it. Turn hard to port. That's not port. Now I've got it. Trust me, I'm in control. Hoist up the thing, batten on the what's-it. What's that thing spinning? Somebody should stop it. Turn hard to port. Is this jail? Now I've got it. Trust me, I'm in control. Ah, help! Trust me, I'm in control. He gets arrested at the end. That's part of the joke. So that's what it is. Thank you, my friends. I was thinking we were doing silly songs. Maybe, we could do Moby Duck as well. Yeah, we'll do Moby Duck and Red is the Rose to finish things off. Because we're sending off such a wonderful book. We need to send it off with, or maybe Parting Glass. What do we think? Red is the Rose or Parting Glass? We'll do one or the other. Rain, hello, good to see you. If you dropped in earlier, I didn't see you. I apologize. I'm glad that you are here. Love the Longest Johns. The Longest Johns are a modern legend in the making, to be sure. Oh, Bethany wants Sick Note. Oh, you guys are gonna wear me out. All right, we'll do Moby Duck, Sick Note, and then you guys pick Red is the Rose or here. Hang on, we'll do a poll over on Twitch. We'll do Red is the Rose. Hang on. I don't know if I have any barkeeps in here who can do this, but I'm gonna do new poll. I'm gonna do Red is the Rose, and then Parting Glass. Nope, not that. Okay. You guys have until the end of the song to pick, starting now, over on the Twitch portal. Hannah, have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your evening. I'm so glad that you were able to join us. Thank you for being here. I got distracted. 2 other people were live. That's all right. That's all right. I'm glad you made it in to say hello. But Hannah, it was wonderful having you. Good night, and we will hopefully see you back for story time on Thursday. Rest well, and we rise tomorrow ready to conquer the day. All right, we'll do Moby Duck, then we'll do Sick Note, and then after Sick Note, whatever is won on the poll over on Twitch, that's what we're going to sing. Sick Note is a classic, especially the Pat Cooksey version. All right. Well, because we're sending off the book. It is the last time for a while that we're going to be in Mid-Kemia. So we have to say goodbye with a proper morning song. Alpin, have a good night. Rest well. Thank you for joining us. I hope you had a good time. Okay. Here we go. Dear sir, I write this note to you to tell you of me plight. For at the time of writing I am not a pretty sight. Me body is all black and blue, me face a deathly grey. And I write this note to say why Paddy's not at work today. Was working on the 14th floor, some bricks I had to clear. To throw them down from such a height was not a good idea. The foreman wasn't very pleased, him being an awkward sod. He says I'd have to cart them down the ladder in me hod. Now clearing all these bricks by hand it was a very slow, so I hoisted up a barrel and secured the rope below. But in me haste to do the job I was too blind to see that a barrel full of building bricks was heavier than me. And so when I untied the rope the barrel fell like lead. Still clinging tightly to the rope I started up instead. I shot up like a rocket till to my dismay I found that halfway up I met the bloody barrel coming down. Gazerole, thank you for that hard night. Tips of the tavern keeper always appreciated. Well, the barrel broke me shoulders, to the ground it sped. And when I reached the top I banged the pulley with me head. I clung on tightly, numb with shock from this almighty blow, as the barrel spilled out half the bricks some 14 floors below. Now when these bricks had fallen from the barrel to the floor, I then outweighed the barrel and so started down once more, still clinging tightly to the rope, my body racked with pain. When halfway down I met the bloody barrel once again. Now the force of this collision, halfway up the office block, caused multiple abrasions and a nasty state of shock. Still clinging tightly to the rope, I fell towards the ground and landed on the broken bricks the barrel scattered round. I lay there groaning on the ground, I thought I'd passed the worst, but the barrel hit the pulley wheel and then the bottom burst. A shower of bricks rained down on me, I hadn't got a hope. As I lay there bleeding on the ground, I let go the bloody rope. The barrel then being heavier, then started down once more, and landed right across me as I lay upon the floor. It broke 3 ribs in my left arm, and I can only say that I hope you'll understand why Paddy is not at work today. Thank you for the song, my friends. Absolutely lovely to sing with you. I just got the Discord notice that you're live on Twitch. If a vampire wears an eye patch with a mirror facing him, can he see behind him like a rear view mirror due to the mirror not reflecting him? Possibly? Maybe? I don't know. That's a good question. Asking the important scientific questions, Herring, I don't know. Every fiber of my being wants to say yes, but the logic in me also wants to say no. And collectively we all say, poor Paddy. Okay, one more silly song before we decide how we're gonna send off our dear friend Mid-Kemia. The Rift War saga has come to an end. So we're gonna do Moby Duck. Now Moby Duck is another Longest John's song thing, I believe. So if you've never listened to Moby Duck, this one is very funny. Mirror inside the eye patch. Okay. It does have to be a silverback, that's true. It wouldn't need to be a silverbacked mirror. That's a good question. It's a good question. Who knows? The important scientific questions, though. Sorry, I've been a bit in and out. Dad and I are talking logistics. That's all right, Matty. Do what you got to do, brother. It's all right. Hannah, hello. Welcome in. I love Moby Duck. It's such a funny song. It's such a funny song. All right, here we go. After 14 years, I left the sea for a life upon a lake. After all the storms I'd seen, I needed a good break. I thought still waters would mean peace for me, but that was a mistake. For the place I chose was bedeviled by a giant evil drake, a mallard of such malice twice the size of any man, a bill to give you nightmares and a monstrous wingspan. You cannot hope to fight it, so avoid him if you can. The terrifying waterfowl, the beast beyond the dam. Row, ho, row, ho, row with all our might. Row with harpoons loaded, spoiling for a fight. Row, ho, and with any luck, we'll win the day and do away the dreaded Moby Duck. I'm not one for surrender, so a vengeful oath I swore. I gathered up me hearties like so many times before. We shod our ship with weapons and prepared to go to war, till the fetid, feathered, fearsome flying duck will breathe no more. Row, ho, row with all our might. Row with harpoons loaded, spoiling for a fight. Row, ho, and with any luck, we'll win the day and do away the dreaded Moby Duck. There was bonny brave Marie, to who her arms had waved goodbye, and handsome Jack, whose duck attack left him without an eye. The Derby twins, with one leg each, on deck were standing by. Only a couple dozen limbs between a crew of 25. Row, ho, row with all our might. Row with harpoons loaded, spoiling for the fight. Row, ho, and with any luck, we'll win the day and do away the dreaded Moby Duck. The fight raged on for several hours, defend and then attack. With beating from those wicked wings, our boat began to crack. The beast reared up to finish the job, and with a mighty quack, I rammed my harpoon in its throat and made a tasty snack. Row, ho, row us back to shore. We'll drag his broken body back and roast it on an oar. Row, ho, barbecue the beast. With hoys and sauce and pancakes, we'll have the biggest feast. Row, ho, row with all our might. We rowed with harpoons loaded, spoiling for a fight. Row, ho, we had all the luck. We won the day and did away the dreaded Moby Duck. We won the day and did away the dreaded Moby Duck. So many silly jokes with it. I know, it's just so good. It's so good. I think my favorite is Oak and Ashen. Oak and Ashen Thorn is a very good song by them. It's a very good one. Okay. One more song, my friends. Let's see, what is it going to be? We have what one? We are going to be doing Parting Glass wins by an overwhelming margin. So our final song for the evening will be The Parting Glass. Bear, can you do me a favor and dismiss that ad when it gets down to like the 1 minute point? I appreciate it. I don't want to make you guys watch another ad since we're going to be ending up here soon. I like the High Kings version of this. I don't know who prefers what version, but the High Kings version of the Potting Glass is my favorite. I'm ready. All right, Jazz, let's go. Thank you, Bear. I appreciate you, brother. Kitty, hello, my friend. Good to see you, mate. My cat is chewing my charger cord because he's hungry. Well, feed the cat. Don't let it. I'm sure you have something else you can give him. If he's on your charging cord, it's only a matter of time before he goes for your eyeballs, Rain. Don't let him eat your eyeballs. All right, here we go. Of all the money that e'er I had, I've spent it in good company. Oh, and oh, the harm that e'er I've done, alas, it was to none but me. I'm doing well, Kerry. How are you doing, my friend? And all I've done for want of wit to memory now I can't recall. So fill to me the parting glass. Good night and joy be to you all. So fill to me the parting glass, and drink a health whate'er befalls. Then gently rise and softly call, good night and joy be to you all. Of all the comrades that e'er I had, they're sorry for my going away, and all the sweethearts that e'er I had, they'd wish me one more day to stay. But since it fell unto my lot that I should rise and you should not, I'll gently rise and softly call, good night and joy be to you all. So fill to me the parting glass, and drink a health whate'er befalls. Then gently rise and softly call, good night and joy be to you all. La da 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 da. Da 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 da. La da 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 da. La da 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 da. But since it fell unto my lot that I should rise and you should not, I'll gently rise and softly call, good night and joy be to you all. So fill to me the parting glass, and drink a health whate'er befalls. Then gently rise and softly call, good night and joy be to you all. Good night and joy be to you all. Thank you for the songs, my friend. Absolutely lovely to sing with you, as always. Driver, thank you for that heart me over on TikTok, my friend. Tips to the tavern keeper, always appreciated. I'm doing well, been insanely busy with our first game launch. That's wonderful to hear, man. I'm always glad to hear it. Well, thank you, hon. I appreciate the compliment. You said you were not good, and that was a lie. I'm not exceptionally. I sing enough that I'm okay at it. The lady has a far better voice than I do, though. I get parting glass and a health to the comedy backwards. Well, they are both about like choosing people off, right? They're both about like having a drink to send folk off. So it's sort of a similar environment in what's going on, right? And so learning a lot. Well, that's the best way to do it. The more you learn, the more you attempt, especially with games and stories. It's about the other person. It's about people enjoying it. So you want to make whatever you're making as enjoyable as possible. Tell Una I request Warrior of the Mind for Sunday. I will let her know, Matty. I will let her know. Alright, my friends, this is where I'm going to send you all off for the evening. To all of our friends over on Twitch, I appreciate you all. We're going to raid out. And to everyone who came in to visit us tonight, new and old, thank you all for being here, my friends. It was wonderful to host you in our tavern this fine eve. I hope you enjoyed the stories. I hope you enjoyed the songs. And more than anything, I hope you enjoyed your time here and the new or old comrades that you got to spend that time with while you were here in the tavern. Totally not because that's what she sent me. Rest well, Jazz. It's always wonderful to see you. It's always wonderful to see all of you. I'm so glad that you all come to see us here in the tavern. Even after all this time, I haven't bored you all to sing yet. Yes, now I'm learning how to get in front of people to find its audience. Definitely learning a lot. I love it. It's a great thing. It's a grand pleasure. We don't know yet. I have to, because we're going to do the readathon. We need to do the vote on the readathon, which I'll do either today or tomorrow. I'll put out the poll over in the guild. We're gonna pick what we're gonna be reading for the readathon, and then we will, after the readathon is done, after I do that poll, then we'll decide what's gonna come after that. Chris, it's my pleasure, friend. I'm glad you've been joining us. Thank you for coming in, and I look forward to you being a regular. It seems like you're gonna be, so I appreciate that. Guten Nacht, my friend, and guten Nacht, mein Freund. Haben Sie einen wunderbaren Nacht. Rest well, and I hope that you rise tomorrow ready to face the game. You should run a D&D game mainly because you've got the voice for it. So this is something that some of you may know, some of you may not. I used to do D&D games. We might do another one at some point in the near future. But I am doing a sort of a pseudo D&D game where I am writing a story, and each of the platforms we make stories on is playing a character. I write a chapter, then you guys decide what the character does next, and then I write the next chapter. So it's like a huge game of role playing that we're going to be doing with the whole of the tavern community. I'm almost done with it. It was supposed to be done at the beginning of February, and I got sick, and it put me off on things. So, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, sometime in the near future, perhaps we'll do, and you'll get to vote. Nobody, because you're on YouTube, so you'll get to vote what the character does. It's gonna be great. I'm very excited about it. And what's better is that it's in a world I've been writing for almost 20 years. I used to write stories for my little brothers when they were young, and I built a whole world with languages and lore and things around it. And I have 3 novels that are mostly done in that world. I've never published them because they were stories I wrote for my little brothers. This is written in that same world with that same lore and the same everything, but it's 2,000 years after the story I wrote for my little brothers. So if this story does well and people enjoy it, I may publish those original 3 novels. We'll see what happens. All right, my friends, this is all for the evening. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for spending your time here in the tavern. And while it is so sad that we are parting, we will again gather when you all seek a story. And until next time, my friends, I will bid you all stay bloodthirsty. I'll see you in the short story times tomorrow, and maybe a long one later this week. And I will see you back here on Thursday when we all come for the story again. Until then, I bid you all stay bloodthirsty, my friends, and I will see you next time. Good night.